and thanks for joining me for part 2 of my spring vacation. If you watched my video last week, you'll know that my husband and I left sunny Dacia, Turkey to visit Belgium and France. After spending a day visiting my dear friend in Paris, we left the City of Light and headed north to the Pas-de-Calais region of France. I actually lived in the north in the city of Boulogne-sur-Mer for about 2 years, and it's been quite a while since I've been back, so I thought it'd be fun to check out my old stomping grounds. Boulogne is a medium-sized city known for its fishing port, which is actually the largest in France, and it's rich in history. A well-known place to visit when here is the old fortified city dating back to the Middle Ages, which you can enter through one of the 4 gates allowing access to this old city. Here, the Notre-Dame Basilica takes center stage with its 100-meter-tall dome. The current basilica was built in the mid-1800s, and it was actually built on the site where the former medieval cathedral once stood, and its foundation as a church dates back to around the 7th century. Throughout the basilica and its crypt, my husband kept noticing lots of statues of the Virgin Mary in a boat, and we were wondering why that is. Apparently, according to legend, a boat carrying only a statue of the Virgin Mary was found in the sea in the year 633. This statue was then taken to the church, and miracles started occurring, which were then attributed to the statue. So soon after, people came to the area specifically to see this statue in hopes of a miracle being performed. Supposedly, though, the statue was burned in the public square in 1793, so you won't see the original here today. Below the basilica lies an ancient crypt that you can tour for €6. This renovated Romanesque crypt dates back to the 11th century. The crypt underwent major renovations a few years back and was open to the public for viewing. So besides housing just tons of historic artifacts and frescoes, the crypt also served as a place of safety during World War II for the citizens of Boulogne. In my second year living here, I was actually lucky enough to have a little studio just a few houses down from the basilica, and I had these huge windows that looked up directly at the dome. I remember it being so beautiful, especially at night when it was all lit up. Of course, I walked down the street and found the door to my old place. It's funny being back here. Everything seems so familiar and at the same time different. Many of the little shops and restaurants that line this main street in the old city have changed, but I still get the same feeling walking down the cobblestones. One of the best features of the old fortified city in Boulogne are the ramparts. They have a lovely pathway that you can walk along all the way around the old city, and since you're at a high point in the city, I remember there are even certain sections where you could see the sea from it. I didn't have a car when I lived here, so I did a lot of walking anytime that I wanted to explore, and I remember these ramparts very well. The day was starting to get away from us, so we decided to head out of Boulogne and take the coastal road up to Cap Blanc-Nez. All along the coast, known as the Côte d'Opale, or Opal Coast, there are small seaside towns that are absolutely charming, and the views of the English Channel are better than I remembered. The countryside here has rolling green hills that often butt up to the sharp cliffs spilling over into the sea below. It really is breathtaking. Something I noticed while here in France this time that I didn't necessarily pick up on when I lived here is how many wonderful walking paths there are. There were so many people out enjoying this Sunday afternoon, even though it wasn't particularly warm or overly sunny. But I never realized how many places there were for walking. There were plenty of nice sidewalks, paths along the coast, beachfront walks, walking paths in the fields. It really was impressive. Cap Blanc-Nez is a well-known cape in northern France, just near Calais, and this area played an important role throughout history. There's a monument here now dedicated to the Dover Patrol, which helped to keep the German U-boats out of the waters during World War I. You can still see remnants of German blockhouses here, which were used during World War II. But besides the history, this point is visited for the stunning seaside beauty that it offers. On a clear day, you can even see the white chalk cliffs of Dover on the other side of the channel. Finally, as the sun was getting ready to set, we drove over to Dunkirk to make our last stop for the day. My husband really enjoyed watching the film Dunkirk a few years ago, and he was interested in seeing the beach here, which has such historical significance in the Second World War. Today, the beach is lined with a long and wide walkway where you can take your time to enjoy a colorful sunset stroll while reflecting on the role these very beaches played in such a critical point in history. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I really appreciate it. I have one last video to come from my little European vacation before heading back to Turkey, so please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel to stay up to date and giving this video a thumbs up. Until next time, thanks!